All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Sociology Software for today's students. Our presenter today is Debra Campbell of Hawks Learning. If you have any questions at all for the presenters during the presentation, please feel free to enter those into the Q&A section at the bottom of the Zoom room screen, and we'll be able to address those at the end of the talk. We're also going to be giving away 3 $25 Amazon gift cards live at the end of the session. And all you need to do to enter for a chance to win those is to click the link in the chat and enter your name onto the prize wheel. So on that note, I will go ahead and hand it over to Debra.
Hi, so again, my name is Debra Campbell. So today what I am going to be doing is I'm going to be talking about sociology for the students of today. Just a quick story. For the past 3-4 months, I've been trying to go to every school in my district. So I'm from Tennessee. I'm trying to go to every school in Tennessee and Kentucky, and I want to talk to professors. And when I talk to sociology professors, what I'm hearing the most is that students aren't motivated, whether it be because it's just a textbook, so it's hard to get them motivated, or whether it be the topics in the textbook are a little outdated. And so I'm going to share with you what Hawks has to offer when it comes to sociology. And so I will go ahead and share my screen. All right, so like I said, today we're going to go over sociology software for today's students. Just a quick overview. I'm going to go over what our values as a company are, what our materials, what materials we have, and then also go over the student experience. So we have 3 core values here at Hawks. Number 1 being affordability, 2 being our superior support and service, and then also a 3rd is our mastery-based approach. Just so you know, we do integrate with LMS systems, so it's easy to navigate for your students. And another thing is that we have lots of purchasing models. So whether it's direct from bookstore, direct from Hawks, or if you have an inclusive access model, we work with all of the above. And then this is what I'm going to be showing you. This is our textbook and our software. Here's the table of contents. And as you can see, it is topics that are really relatable to what students want to know about. And then throughout it has topics that have been introduced, for example, like COVID. That's kind of weaved throughout it, right? That is something that students it's very fresh on their mind, and it's something that helps them kind of really get motivated to learn the topic because it has to be relevant to their lives as well. And then as you can see below at the bottom those are the price points, whether it's the Hawks to Student direct to bookstore price or the inclusive access. So it's a really affordable option for your students because what we've done is we've worked with OpenStax, but we brought in content creators and we also brought in specialists to help create a software that was really engaging for students, but also affordable. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in. So this is what it would look like for your student. This is the student dashboard. As you can see, Introduction to Sociology. They will know what's due today, what's due within a week, or due later. We like it to be as easy as...
Sorry to interrupt. We're seeing the PowerPoint still. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. New share. Are we good now?
Perfect.
Perfect. All right, thank you. All right, so what I was saying, this is what our dashboard looks like. We have due today, due within a week, or due later. We want it to be easy to navigate for your students so they know exactly what is due when. So I'm going to go ahead and click into a lesson. Sorry, I was inactive for a little bit, so let me log back in here. So again, this is what the dashboard would look like for your students. I'm going to click into this lesson. All right, so this is what I like to call the universal design. So universal design, meaning that every single chapter and section is going to look exactly like this, no matter what the product is. We try to make it this way. So again, it's easy to navigate for students. So they're not saying they don't know where to go because it's going to always be exactly the same. 1, 2, 3. This is their recommended learning path. So the first step is our learn mode. When they jump into learn, this essentially what this is we have taken chapter 3.1 and we have pulled it from the textbook and we have made it more accessible and more interactive for students. So the first thing we have is our videos. Every single chapter and every single section is going to have a video. It's a short video that's going to give students kind of a synopsis of what they're going to be learning about to give them some schemata before jumping into the text or to review after. All of these are accessible given that they have closed captioning, and then it's also everything that's on the screen is set aloud. So even if students have sight impairments, they still are able to assess the videos. Now, as we go through, this is, again, our textbook, but we're going to add in some interactive. So, for example, group activities, and as they go through, reflection questions, further resources, there's an article, and I've seen instructors, what they will do, again, to get students motivated in the learning, a lot of times instructors will pull this up during class, and those reflection questions will have students talk about it. The further resources are their articles, dig deeper. Again, another further resource, but it's a video this time. And then something I wanted to show you in this is that as an instructor, something that you can do is you can customize the learn mode. That's something that differentiates us from other softwares. So you have three things that you can do. The first thing you can do is you can hide a page. If you think, okay, this is not applicable to what I want my students to know, you can hide it. Second thing you can do is you can replace it. So that means you hide it and then you put all your own content in. And the third thing you can do, which is our most popular thing that I've seen with my instructors, is this is called a learn screen note. So this first text box right here, this scroll box, that is our textbook. And then the second scroll box is our learn screen note. And so this is what you as an instructor, you can put in videos, PowerPoints, tips or tricks, anything that you feel like you want your students to also read at the same time that they're reading this content. I was working with a sociology professor recently who so they were talking about a topic, and there was something in the news that was happening right then and there that was a really great example of what they were learning about in their sociology course. So he went ahead and put it in a video based on that today activity that was happening. So again, it's just something to really help motivate your students to care about the topic of sociology and want to dive in. Now, after they do the learn mode, the next step is practice. Practice is exactly that. Practice is where they are going to be preparing for their homework assignment, and it is ungraded. We just want to prepare them for this certified mode. So once they click into practice, all right, this is what our practice looks like. Just so you know, it's not all multiple choice. So for example, there are some select all that apply. And then I'm going to go ahead and they can skip. Here is one that has, this is multiple choice. And then let's go ahead, just so you know, every single question will have around 20 iterations of this same problem. So for example, the objective is what component of culture is being described? And the scenario is Paul travels to Mexico. If I hit this try similar button, all right, same question, same objective with a different scenario. So that means your students can get as much practice as they would need. So I'll do that a couple times. And now let's go ahead and answer a question to see exactly what it would look like, the feedback they would get. So I'm going to go ahead. Let's answer this. Now, if a student answers a question incorrectly, most systems are going to stop them and say, your answer is incorrect, try again. Or your answer is incorrect, here's the right answer, try again. But here at Hawks, we take it a step further, and we really want to provide students with error-specific feedback. We want to provide them with feedback that's going to help them learn from their mistake. So for example, your answer is incorrect. I'm going to go ahead and hit explain error. And at this point, this is the exact question that was asked, not a similar, but the exact question that was asked. It says your answer is incorrect. Again, most systems are going to stop there and say try again, but we want to take it a step further. And we have here, this is because there is no imposition of one's own culture into a different culture. Remember that a certain culture components elicit certain responses when one encounters a culture different than one's own. So we are providing them feedback that we like to say is really similar to what you would provide to your students if you had time to sit with every single one of them as they were doing their homework. So we want to give them feedback so they are learning from those mistakes, the right in time intervention of, okay, you got it incorrect and this is why. Now, if students read this and they still need help, you can see here it says for a hint to solve this, click hint. So up here in this corner, we have hint. All right, and at this point, what we have done is we have provided your students with the definitions and terms that they need to really delve into this. So it tells them what culture shock and it goes through it. And something that I really personally like so I was a teacher for the past 7 years, and something that I really liked with this is not only do we provide definitions, but we also want to provide thinking prompts. Oftentimes we want to tell students, well, think about this. And so as you can see here, as you revisit the question, consider the feelings that individuals have about their own culture and how we respond to different cultures than our own. So again, we're providing them with all the tools to help them learn from the mistake they made so they can go on to be successful. They also can jump into learn, which is embedded. So let's say they need to go back to that learn mode. Instead of them having to click out, they can just go through here and they have the textbook, they have the videos at their disposal. And then finally, we have solution. So what I really like about our solution is we're not, again, just not going to say this is the correct answer. We're going to tell them why it's the correct answer. So this answer is correct because it identifies the component of culture that involves using one's own culture. And so again, we were wanting to really provide students with that right in time feedback so they're learning from their mistakes. And as we go through it, I'll show you a couple more. For example, here's another one. Let's say they get to it and they don't even know where to answer and they just need help. So what they can do here is hit this tutor button. And the tutor button is going to look really similar from our explain error. But so here, consider whether the example is real, changeable, or physical item. And then it goes on to explain to them what material culture and what non-material culture is. And again, it's feedback that you would provide them. As I'm sure many of you know, this is really handy. This is really helpful for students who, especially for students who might be too shy to ask for help, right? We all know those students who sit in the back and would rather ask a computer, rather ask AI than to ever ask you. And so I think this is really beneficial for those students who, might be a little bit, worried of asking you. They have this help, or even the students who are more comfortable once they get home, maybe they need some more guidance. This is there to provide that for them. So the students have learned, they did practice, and now it's time for them to certify. Certify is the homework element. This is what their grades will come from. This is what is synced with your LMS system. So I'm going to go ahead and click into this. All right, so their certify homework, this looks really similar to practice, but there are some key differences. The first key difference is down here at the bottom, you can see there's no longer like the try similar or the tutor button. And the reason why is because on other systems, students, the first time they ever practice what they're learning is when they're doing their homework. So they kind of need those tools. However, with ours, they've already practiced it with those. And so now it's time to do it without. Because we hear from instructors, especially sociology instructors who are already using a software that, they do really well on their homework. But when it comes time to write a paper or when it comes time to have a discussion in class, they're not able to apply those concepts to conversations, to papers. And so our goal is that we want students to be able to really know these concepts. We don't want them to be able to hit a hint button. They don't know it, hit a hint button. Go to the next one. They don't know it, they hit a hint button. And they kind of do that throughout, but they don't actually know the concepts. They're just able to kind of look at the hints and kind of mimic what they're supposed to do. And so at this point, we are expecting them to not just show you, but also themselves that they can do this without all those learning tools. So they can apply it to papers, so they can apply it to discussions and take this with them throughout their college career and their career in general. So we've taken those tools away. A second thing that's different is this is mastery-based learning. So what mastery-based learning is essentially we have it set at 80%, meaning your students have to get 80% of these questions correct. And once they do, congratulations, they have certified. They will get a 100 on their homework. Now, as an instructor, you can change the mastery level. You can change how many questions are on here. You can change what questions are on here. You can actually even create your own questions. But we set it at 80%. And so what that means is there are 10 questions. With there being 10 questions on this one, that means that students can miss 2 questions. So this heart over here, I like to say it's gamification. If any of you are familiar with Donkey Kong or any of those games, it's like lives, right? And so they have 2 lives. So they can miss 2 questions. And and still certify. If they miss 2 questions, they are still certified. They get a 100. Congratulations, they have mastered this concept. Now, as soon as they miss more than 2 questions, meaning they've missed more than 20% of their homework, our system's going to stop them and say, okay, you're not ready. It's going to say, so they're in certify for homework. It's going to say, okay, you're not ready for this, but let's go ahead and take you back into practice. When it takes them back into practice, they're getting adaptive remediation. They are getting questions that are customized and individualized to exactly what they need. So if I'm missing one type of question, but my friend is missing, another type of question, when we go back into practice, it looks totally different. So every student is getting exactly what they need. They have all those tools at that point, and at that point, they can go back from practice whenever they're ready. They can go back into certify as many times as they need to in order to certify. This is just really motivating for students to know that every single time they sit down at the computer, they're going to have a chance for success. Tons of studies have been on this since the 70s, and it's just extremely motivational for students and really effective. So that's kind of the synopsis of the student side. So again, learn is where they are jumping in, it's accessible, it's interactive, and you as an instructor can customize it. Practice is where they are taking those skills and they are learning from their mistakes with error-specific feedback. And then certify is where they are showing what they know and showing what they've mastered. So I'm going to stop here just for a second. And then let me go back. And something I want to show you too is there's a couple things here with sociology. So first, we do have an option for smart review. So if you do writing in your class, we have an option where you can put smart review, which is where your students can write, and then you have a couple options. It's all anonymous, that students can swap papers, grade each other, or it can go just straight to you and you grade it. There's a few options there. So if that's something you want, that is optional. And we also have practice tests. So let me show you that. All right, so these practice tests are for students. So students will go to web test, they'll go to practice web test, and they will go to create practice web test. Now, again, I used to be a teacher, and I know how busy you are. And I know I would have students who ask me, can I have a study guide? Can you create this? What do I study? And personally, it was really hard for me to find the time to make those materials for them. And so we have created where your students can take ownership of their own learning and create those practice tests themselves. So for example, let's just say this is practice test 1. All right, so let's say they know that it's going to be on chapter 1 and it's going to be over the first two sections. They know it's going to be a total of 10 questions. It's just a quick quiz. And then time, they know you're going to give them 60 minutes. They can then hit start. And at this point, our system creates a practice test for them. What's really great for this is that it's going to look exactly like it will when you create tests for them. So there's no learning tools. And so they're going to go through here. A few things, they'll see the timer. If it freaks them out, they can hide it. They can also, so here are all the questions. They can see which ones they've answered, which ones they've not answered. I can hide the ones I've answered. And I'm going to go ahead and go through here and answer these so you guys can see what kind of data the students get and what kind of tools they get to help them be successful. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and say, congratulations, you were ready. Go ahead and submit it. I'm going to hit submit assignment. And at this point, I am going to get data. I am going to see, hopefully your students do better than me. I only answered 3 out of 10 correctly, but this is really good for you to see. So green is I got it correct, red is I got it incorrect. So this is section 1.1 and section 1.2. So as a student, I can say, okay, I can see that I need more help on 1.1. So I'm going to start there. Your students can then click directly into this. And it's going to bring them to that practice, lesson 1.1. And so they are getting practice for that section. They have the tutor button. They have the explain error button. They can exit practice, and it's going to bring them right back here so they can continue on. And at that point, they can retake the test. But again, our whole goal here at Hawks is for today's student. We want to make sure that they have all the tools necessary to be as successful as they can. And so this is just one of many tools that we provide. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into what so this is the student dashboard. I want to show you what it looks like for you as an instructor. So the one I have pulled up today, it says college algebra, but just know that's where I have my fake students so you can see reports. But I'll go ahead and show you kind of a few things, like key things that you'd want to see. And let me check my time. All right. So let's see. First thing, so assignments. Getting set up is extremely easy. There's only one thing that you have to do. And that one thing that you have to do so students see your assignments and they're ready to go is lesson due dates. And so I'm going to click on lesson due dates. Once I click on lesson due dates, you click on your section. And what this essentially is going to do is this is going to show all of the available lessons. Again, this is math, but just know that you would see sociology things. But all you have to do is if you want your students to do that assignment, you just click on the calendar and you will click the date. As soon as you do that, you would hit the save button, and after that, you are ready to go. Now, everything else I show you today is going to be things that are optional. So the one thing that you have to do is you have to pick your due dates, and then after that, everything else is optional. So the first thing is curriculum. So there are some settings here. The ones that are most used are over here to your left. You can share with other instructors. So for example, if you're a lead instructor and perhaps you have a lot of adjunct at your school, whatever you create here can be pushed out to other instructors. It's called a master course shell. So you do the work, you know, it's 1 hour, you maybe spend an hour getting all these settings up, and then you just push it out and it's good to go for all of the instructors and then for all of the following semesters. So that's share with other instructors. The next thing is allow students to unsuccessfully attempt certify 0 times before requiring practice. So maybe you want students to be able to go to certify before they, you know, we know sometimes students are going to want to go there first. So you could say, okay, yeah, you can go there. But if you are unsuccessful 1 time, then it's going to require them to go back to practice and they have to attempt 80% of the practice. Now, of course, this is all customizable. You can say, well, they have to finish 100% of the practice. That's totally up to you. The next thing is we do have our beta allowed for enhanced practice session. So with the beta, just know that this is something that if you did set the setting to have this, it would be half of your students. They wouldn't know who had what. But what we're doing with the beta is it is based on how the students are doing. So the better they do, the harder problems they get. And if they start to not do well, the problems get a little bit easier. With the beta, we are seeing that students are finishing the lessons quicker. And so that's just an option that you have available. We also have allow students to attempt remaining questions after reaching achieving mastery. So they hit that 80%. You can allow them to keep going so they see all of the questions. And then finally, we have flex mastery. So flex mastery allows your students, so you know the little gamification with how many questions they can miss. Flex mastery is if they miss it, you can give them a chance to try again with maybe a new question or the same question, it's up to you, but like a new question. And then if they miss it, then they lose a life. Now, of course, you can pick how many times how many attempts they have per question. We recommend once because that's really the power of mastery-based learning is holding them accountable for that. So those are the most used settings. And then when I was in the learn mode, I was talking to you about customization options you can do. So let's go ahead and click into one of these. And this is going to show, I'm going to show you how you can customize your curriculum. The first one, if we remember the learn mode, which was the red with the textbook, if you wanted to edit that, you just hit this little gear, hit open learn, and at that point you can go through, hide your pages, add in your own content, things like that. The second thing is that you can choose what questions are in your practice and certify. So how you would do that is on the left side over here underneath this is question bank. These are all of the questions. And on the right side is assignment. So assignment are the questions that are already on the question bank. Give me 1 second. And so those are the questions that are already on the question bank. So if you wanted to scroll down to your left and you can say, okay, I want this question, all you'd have to do is hit add. And again, these are algorithmically generated. So I was saying there's 20 questions per 20 iterations of every question. So if there was an objective that you wanted them to have more of, you could add this multiple times and it's algorithmically generated. So the students would be getting new questions every time. So maybe you wanted 3 of this type. On the other hand, if you wanted to look at what we already provide to your students, you can come through here. And if you don't like something, all you have to do is hit remove and it's ready to go. You hit the save and you have customized your curriculum. So then your students are seeing exactly what you want them to see. And the last thing I'm going to show you on the assignments tab is our web test. So our web test, you can create your own web test. Just so you know, any of these tests can be diagnostic, meaning that if you wanted to provide them a test beforehand and then they could test out of topics based on how they're doing, if you're in a self-paced program, that is an option. But if you want to create your own test, you can hit create new. Now, the thing with this is that it can be a test, it can be a quiz, it can even be a homework assignment. But if you're just wanting to create something where they're getting a raw score, this is what it would look like. Again, same as before, the left side is the question bank and the right side is what will be on the actual test. So I'm going to click, maybe I want it to be 10 questions and I want it to be all from chapter 1, but I know it's going to be just the first 2 chapters or first 2 sections. I can hit 10 and hit add and it will automatically select all of those questions for me and auto populate and I have this ready to go. I can just hit save and that test is ready to go. I can assign it and my students see it. Now, if you want to be a little bit more selective, if you want to choose the questions that are on there, all you have to do is click into that section. And when you click into that section at that point, just like before, you can scroll through and hand select your questions, just hit add. Now you can filter. So you can filter, maybe you just want all high level questions or, you want to sort low to high. So then you can kind of see the progression. And then over here, just a couple options you have. You can always lock in a question. So every single student is getting that same exact question because like I was saying, algorithmically generated, every student would be getting a different question. But if you want to lock it, they would all be getting the same question in case maybe you want to see how they do across the board with that one question. There's a lot of options here on how you arrange it. If you want to cluster questions, how much you want it to, count for, things like that. So again, lots of customization for you in this program. And then finally, what I'm going to show you is our reports. As you can see, we have a lot of reports, but we have 4 key ones that people use the most. The first one is all student scores. So as you see here, key reports, we put them up here for you just because, again, we can see those are the ones that people use the most. So first one is all student scores. All right, display student scores. All right, so here it shows all of the students I have, and I can see how everyone is doing. Let's go ahead and look at, I want to see how they're doing on their lessons. Just their lessons, display student scores. All right, at this point, I can see how they're doing, and I can also see what their attempts look like. So the green means that they completed it on time. So 1.2, I can tell June did it on time. But 1.1, it's past due, she's not done it yet. And then here, the yellow is that they did it, but they completed it late. So again, it's just really nice to kind of see an overview of what everything is looking like for your students. And then, of course, if you always wanted to, you can hit this view graph and you can kind of see an overview, some statistics here of what it looks like, how many students have A's in your course, things like that. What's the average in your course? And so we have that option. The next report is detailed student grades. That's the same as all student scores, but instead of it being all of them, it's just one by one. So you can pick which student you want to see. The next one is search by criteria. All right, so search by criteria is really great. There's a lot of things you can do with this. Let me show you what I mean. The first thing, let's say we want to look at students. I want to see all my students who have, let's see, between an 80 and a 100. I want to see who's doing good. I can filter this, and I have a whole list. Those are all of my students who have between an 80 and 100. I can mark this and then hit send message, and I can type out a message that will look customized to all of those students. So it would say, for example, like, hey, Paul, keep up the good work. So again, when it comes to today's students, they want the feedback, they want to be acknowledged if they're doing well. And so that's something I think is really beneficial, just to say, hey, I see that you're doing great, keep it up. Now let's say students are struggling. Let's look at students between a 0 and an 80. All right, June, I can see June's not doing so well. So again, I can message her and say, hey, June, come, I'd like to talk to you during my office hours, things like that. And then as you guys can see, so there's a box for grades and there's a box for activity. So these actually can work in conjunction with each other. So let's do it again. Let's do students between 0 and an 80 who have not logged in for 7 days. All right. So again, we have June. So I can tell that not only is June have a 75 in my class, but she's not logged into the system for 7 days. And so again, it could be a message that says, hey, June, I've seen you not log in for 7 days. What's up? And you can save these filters. So maybe you have a Monday report. You can save it. And with your Monday report, you can see students who have between a 0 and a 70 have not logged in for 3 days. And a need to help report, 0 to 79 and haven't logged in for 5 days. And so, June was over the 79, so she's good. So everything is good. But this is really customizable to help you kind of see an overview of what your students need. All right, and then our last assignment that I'm going to show you is assignment reviewer. Again, as a teacher, this is something I think is really beneficial for you to kind of get an overview. These are all the assignments that you have assigned, okay? So here I can tell for 2.1, all of my students have completed assignment 2.1. However, on 1.1, only 3 completed it, 2 did it late, and 2 haven't done it at all. So something's happening with that lesson. So I can click into this lesson. At this point, it's going to pull a list of students for me. I can adjust this. I want to change the score to where I have my students who have not mastered to the top. And I can see here, okay, so June has attempted it twice, but she never opened Learn and she never opened Practice, and she only was in Certified for 2 minutes. Same thing with Eric. He never opened Learn, never opened Practice, and he wasn't Certified for 13 minutes. But again, they're not mastering. And so this is just so beneficial to be able to talk to those students like, hey, you've got to open Learn, you've got to open Practice. We need to see, how well you can do when you're actually jumping in, learning the things before you go to Certify. And you can also click in. So let's say we want to see June's attempts. I want to see how June did. What did she even answer when she was doing this? I can click into June's name. I can see she's done it twice. I'm going to go and see her latest attempt. Now this latest attempt, it's going to show me what questions she answered, what she answered, and what the correct answer is. And so here, with this question, this is what she answered. This was the correct answer. And so again, I know this is math, but just know it applies across sociology too. So you'll see what they answered, what the correct answer is. And it just gives you a really good starting point if you want to have those conversations, the intervention of, hey, let's talk about why did you put this answer or why this is the right answer. And like I said, you can just go through here. You can also see how long it took them. So June spent 10 seconds on this question, things like that. And now if I go back, the last thing in reports I'm going to show you are our analytics. So our analytics, so we were at students, and then we went to analytics, and this shows you, this is for, lesson 1.1. For lesson 1.1, here are all the questions. Question number 3, 100% of your students got it correct. So you're good on that one. However, on question number 1, 50% got it correct and 50% got it incorrect. Now, what's really great about this is that there are no names. So I can come here, I can change by how many people got it correct. And this is something I've seen instructors pull this up in class because there's no names. There's no shame of, June didn't get this right. And you guys can talk about it. And then not only can you talk about it, but you can click into it. Okay, 50% of you got this incorrect. Let's pull it up. Let's look at it together as a class. Let's talk about it. You click it. here it is, question 1, and then you can have that up in class, no names are there, and you guys can really talk about it and delve into what students struggled with that problem. And so that is a very quick synopsis of how our instructor side is. And before we go into questions, there's a few things I wanted to show you, just again, applying to how do we reach the students of today? And so I just wanted to let you know with our products, first things first, every single chapter and section is going to have a PowerPoint. So as you can see here, sociology, every chapter and section has a PowerPoint. So one, that's good for you. It's going to take some work off of you, and any adjuncts you have, they don't have to create anything, nor do you. And then second, talking about being really intentional in what we're giving students of today. We want to give them high impact practices and projects where they are taking what they're learning and applying it. And so just so you know, every chapter comes with a project. And so that is something that you have at your in your tools when you need them. And so that is a very quick overview of our student side. It is our instructor side and also the resources. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you guys for any questions. Please feel free to throw those in the chat.
Yeah, I'll come off here real quick to help go through some of the questions. Also, just a quick reminder for any questions right there at the bottom of the Zoom room screen, you'll see the Q&A box, and you can just put your questions in there and we'll see them pop up and be able to answer them. So if you have any additional ones, you can go ahead and throw them in, but we did have a couple questions here.
Okay.
So look over at those. And I think you did touch on this, but I don't know if we saw where it was shown. So they asked, where can they assign writing assignments in their course?
Yes, give me 1 second. Let me share my screen again. Let's see.
Sorry, I should have given you a heads up.
Okay. So Shriver, can you still see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So in the psychology one that I have set up right now, guys, I don't have it because Smart Review, you just let us know you want it and we'll put it in the system for you. So let me pull up one of our comp classes that shows an example of what that looks like. Let's see. All right, so what it would look like. So earlier what we had, these are all the lessons that were due. I showed you the web test. And if you wanted to implement Smart Review, the writing element, this is what it would look like for your students. So your students will click onto here. And then they can go ahead and hit start. All right, and this is what it would look like. They would have a question, they would type it here, and what you're seeing is where your students can tag. Maybe you want them to have certain elements that you want in this. This is where they can tag those things and kind of grade it. So this is where they would type it here and then submit it here. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think that does.
Okay.
On that. All right. And so another question that we had come in, once again, I think you did touch on this, but I don't know if this came in before or after you showed it. So if you want to show it again, that's great.
Okay.
But they asked about where they can require practice mode for their students. I know you did talk about it when you were showing the student mode.
Absolutely. Give me 1 second. So whenever you go to assignments and go to curriculum, let me click here. All right, and then it was this setting right here. So if you're wanting them to require practice before, or allow them to try certify once before going into practice, that's where they can do it. Shriver, is that what they're asking?
Yes, it was.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, so guys, you go to assignments, curriculum, you click into it, and then the setting is right here, allow students to unsuccessfully attempt certify.
Perfect.
Good question.
Yeah. Oh, we just had another one come in. So let me see here. Is there any built-in discussion tool or other options for student-to-student interactions?
Yes, if you go to the dashboard, so when your students log in, they will see, this is what their screen will look like. Let me show you a couple tools actually. So this is what their dashboard will look like. And here at the top, they will them at the menu, they have grades, they have ebooks, and then they have live chat and discussion board. So this might be a place where with a discussion board, you can put some of those questions from the learn mode, put them in and have students require that. That's how I've seen it used. I know a couple of things too on this, just so you know. We do have this alert system, and so you can set alerts for students of, you can do it before, like send an alert to students 2 days before a homework assignment is due if they've not completed it, or send an alert to the students who have not completed it, a day after, saying, hey, your assignment is late, and they'll get this little alert system here. They can also, this envelope is when they want to connect with you. Although most people do that through their LMS system, it is an option if you wanted to utilize it here. And then finally too, just so you know, we also have our live support. We have our training videos. If we have feedback, if your students want to give us feedback, they'll be put in for a gift card. And then talking about support, something that I forgot to mention when I talked about superior support earlier, if you or your students have any questions or any problems, you guys, there are a couple things you can do. One, you can call us and someone is going to answer the phone in 4 rings or less. And so that's Monday through Friday, like 8 to 9. So again, a real person is going to answer the phone in 4 rings or less. Or if it's outside those hours, we have 24/7 live chat, which is that button you see there, and it's a real person, and the response time is less than a minute. And then finally, we also have our training and support specialist. So for example, Shriver is part of that team. And so if you were to adopt Talks, just know that you would be assigned a training and support specialist who would help you, train you, set up your courses, and just be there for you for any questions you have as well.
Awesome. Well, that was all the questions that we had, and I can't think of a better way to end a presentation on Hawks and talking about our fantastic support. So on that note, I'll say a quick thank you to Debra for all the valuable information that you have shared with us. And also thank you to everyone who attended. Really can't do it without all the attendees here today. And on that note, it is time for our giveaways for this session, the most exciting part. So each winner today will receive a $25 Amazon gift card. And we will get started with that here in just a second.
Right. Oh, that is exciting.
Right. And our first winner is Lindsay.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Congrats, Lindsay.
Okay.
All right, probability is better this time.
Right. Our second winner. Oh, it's going to be a close one.
Oh, that was so close.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Oh, man, that was awesome. All right. And our third winner for this session. All right. Pam, congratulations.
Yay, Pam.
Love it. So much fun. All right, so everyone, the next concurrent session will begin at 3 p.m. Eastern time today. You'll be able to view the chat for the session meeting room links, as well as accessing the conference website for a complete list of our concurrent sessions and their descriptions. Now, while accessing the conference website, please do not forget to swing by the exhibit hall to say hello to the Hawks team. You can view a quick 5-minute demonstration, request your t-shirt, and be entered to win one of our hourly giveaways, which are your choice of a $50 Amazon gift card, Ticketmaster gift card, or Barnes & Noble gift card. I look forward to seeing y'all at the next session.